That was a extremely hard-fought victory. We knew it would be. We knew it would be a great challenge, and we have a lot of respect for Butler. They're a ranked team. They deserve that ranking, and they've got a. I'm not sure I can find a lot of weaknesses in their game, in their team. I mean, they're deep. They shoot it. They get to the rim. They've got matchup problems all over the court. They rebound it. And we were going to have to play extraordinary game, and we did. We didn't play what I would call a 40-minute game. We had some lulls at the end of the first half after we got up 10 that we certainly like to have back, but we learned from it and we responded in the second half. And every time that we really did what we wanted to do in the sense of following the game plan, we had some good success. And first half, we got a little careless, but that was, we had the 10-point lead. Like I said, our transition defense wasn't as good. A couple fouls that didn't happen. We shot it a little too quick without getting through the paint. And in the second half, we didn't have any of that. And I think the fact that they only got 8 free throws in the second half, the fact that Kellen Dunham didn't get any of them in the second half was big, especially after 9 for 9 in the first half. The fact that we did a good job on the three-point shooting. And that with Kellen and Alex going 2 for 8, that's a huge, huge thing in this game for us because the way that they shoot it. We had to win the backboard battle, we felt, to win the game. And we did. And our guys stayed committed to that. It was a 1-point game at the 6-minute mark. We got 5 straight stops. That's the sign of a team that's trying to grow up and get better. And that was big for us. And then to give up 1 basket in the last 3 minutes. And a lot of learning for us to do, obviously, in a short period of time before we play New Orleans, who's coming off a game, a win on the road last night against Southern Illinois. But we made a lot of progress this week. Frankly, we made a lot of progress since the Louisville game. And mindset, will, tenacity, all those types of things. And to me, everybody contributed to the win. They absolutely contributed to it. Yogi did a fantastic job of coming back in the second half, and because really Yogi was as locked in, as excited this week. He's always locked in, but there was just a little different level for him this week, and it was almost like a hot air balloon got all the air taken out of it when he got that second foul, and I felt bad for him. But at the bottom line, we knew we closed the game with him on Dunham, and we wanted to get the game started right with him on Dunham. And he had a couple of calls, not go for him. We need his leadership, whether he's on the court or off. And in the second half, he brought it at a high level. So Troy continues to grow. Troy has tried to do the very best he can do from responding from the Louisville game when his backboard work was not up to par. He's made that much more of a desire for him. I think that showed today. He's getting better constantly. They all are. So. Proud of the win, proud of the way our coaches prepared him, especially Tim Buckley having a scout for this, and really proud that we have another guy cross the 1,000-point mark today like Yogi did. So extremely happy for him in that personal regards too.
Zach? It's a little procedural, but you talked about opening and closing on Yogi. I know you used to do that with Victor Oladipo some too. How important was it for other guys to be able to handle like sort of the middle of the game with Dunham so that you didn't have to wear Yogi down?
Well, we had numerous defensive things that we were going to do, and we did them for the most part, with different coverages. But Dunham is a hard matchup because he does so much after he catches the ball. First, he does a great job of moving without the ball, using screens, cutting, changing speeds, working to get open. But then there's so much movement once he gets the ball, so you have to have incredible discipline once he gets it. And he's very adept and very good at drawing fouls. And so you're not going to really guard a young man like that with that kind of ability to create that contact the whole game. But we rolled the dice with having him start the game that way, and unfortunately, calls just didn't go our way. So we had numerous guys that would guard him. I mean, and they're certainly far more than a one-man team. I mean, you can't lose sight of Keelan Martin when he's in the game, and Travis is an incredibly hard matchup, not just because of the way he scores in the post, but because of the way he passes from the high post, the way he shoots the ball. And they're good. I mean, they really understand what they're doing. Chris has done a fantastic job. He really has. I mean, he is an excellent coach. I don't know him well, but I've watched his teams at Gardner-Webb. We even went back and studied some of the things they did at Gardner-Webb, if we put in a couple different defenses this week, we got a lot of respect for what he does. And Michael Lewis is doing a fantastic job over there as well, and is a future head coach. Not to mention the other guys they have on their staff. I just know Michael a little better.
Mike, you mentioned earlier about a team trying to grow up and get better. When you have a game like this, swaying back and forth, physical game, and you take it at the end, what can 6 minutes do to the growth of the mental toughness?
Well, I thought how we responded at halftime had a lot to do with that, because we've got to learn, and this is where our inexperience comes in. This is where playing young players in considerable minutes comes in. Is they've got to learn the game is always in the balance, and when you get up 10, it's not a time to get even remotely away from what's working, and because the other team they're not going away. I mean, they're going to make plays, they're going to make shots. So we responded at halftime in answer to your question, and I think we never let down in the second half. We never gave into it, and we never played like we had a lead. We never played like we were down. We just kept playing the right way the rest of the way. There's no question that we can help, but that'll help us in a great way, and probably pretty soon.
Coach, Troy had 11 rebounds, Hunter with 9. How big were they for your team's success today?
Well, it's obvious. I mean, we have to win the rebounding game when you're dealing with the way Butler rebounds the ball. And I mean, they're playing Roosevelt Jones at point, and he's one of the better rebounders around. Woods is maybe per minute as good offensive rebounder as there is in the nation. I'm not sure what the numbers would, if they back that up, and he certainly appears that way because he goes every time. Travis is good there. I mean, when Austin and Weidman are in, they're going to the basket every time to rebound. So we had to do, first and foremost, we had to do a really good job of blocking out and make contact and have that. And I thought it was way better. I'm not sure how to grade out, but I think it'll be way better. Couldn't have been much worse in the Louisville game. So, I mean, it's been considerably better. And at the same time, we went to the offensive boards. And I think judging by the 15 that we had, second chance points, fairly even. But the bottom line is we got to the offensive glass too, which is something that we have to do. So they both did a great job there. But I think James Blackman getting 8 boards, Rob Johnson getting 4 boards. Those are huge things for us. We've got to be a team rebounding group every night.
Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I guess along that same lines, moving forward, I mean, Big Ten's going to be here in a couple of weeks. The rebounding trend from today, I mean, it's got to be a huge positive.
Well, there's no question, and we've got to, what we've got to do is just keep doing more of what we've been doing. I mean, it's just got to become a mindset. We mix the drills up. It's certainly a key point every time you're playing anywhere from 1-on-1 to 5-on-5. We have our rebounding drills, but it's just got to be something where you go every time. And young players, a lot of times, 2 things happen. Number one, they base their game, they base their validation based on their offense. And they see their value based on how they're scoring points, not on how they're impacting winning. Because they're used to being able to do a lot of things that become a lot easier at the other level, at the high school level or prep school level. It comes a lot easier. So I wouldn't say you take defense and rebounding for granted, but it's a lot easier to get those things done. No, here you have to actually fight for it. You have to actually go in and get into somebody's body. You have to actually do it every time. And it takes a while for guys to learn that. It takes a while for that to be ingrained, that's part of the whole fabric of winning. And it sounds easy, but it's not, because you've got to, but once they get it, then they get it. And that's what we've got to keep building towards that, because we're going to see that every night. We'll see that on Monday night with New Orleans. And so every game that you play, you got to have the same mindset when it comes to defensive transition, all right, how you're going to play personnel, and when that shot goes up.
Jeff?
Tom, you talked about Troy a lot as far as being a guy who needs to kind of understand when to kind of be in 5th gear and when to kind of gear down a little bit. His last 4 halves of basketball, how much are we starting to see that?
Well, I think he's very smart, for one thing, and he's a smart person who picks up things quickly, all right, but at the same time, he's sometimes his own worst enemy when it comes to being stubborn as to what really works, and he's growing out of that, and I think that's a big thing. I'd rather have a guy that can get to that 5th gear than one that can't, because you can always turn the gears down a little bit, but it is really, really hard, okay, to get those gears higher, right? So he's learning more about patience with the ball. He's gotten better in the screen and roll game in the last couple of weeks. It started to show up. He's gotten better with being more tenacious, but he's also got a lot of personal determination to be a great player. And I think when you have that, you look at the film, it doesn't matter how smart you are, book smart, basketball smart, if you can't be honest with yourself with what you see on film. And if you see it on film and it doesn't look right, you have to fix it. There's no rationalizing, you have to fix it. And he needed to become a more aggressive rebounder, a guy that uses screens better, because we want to put the ball in his hands. I mean, the more times you can do it, it frees up our guys for shots. He's got to become a more committed defender, and he's got to stay absolutely humble as he does it. And we've made progress, and we've got to keep making progress. It's a lot like Hunter. You want every day, you want them to be better than what they were. It sounds corny, but it's the absolute truth. And they can't get ahead of themselves. And we've got to keep holding them to that standard that they're raising every day.
Time we started Zeisloft and Hartman in the second half, what was the thinking behind it?
The thinking was we needed to be just a little bit older. And it wasn't about offense, it was more about mindset. And in this type of game right here, you got to look at it and say, okay, all right, let's just take a second here and look at it, all right, and get back into the flow and focus on what's important, which is how good our defense has got to be, how good our rebounding has got to be, and let the game come to us a little bit better. Those two, Rob and James, bring a lot to us, okay? And there's no birthright on starting lineups, and there's no, well, this is what we're doing every game. You have to adjust it based on how you see fit, and I thought those two did a really good job of responding. And I thought Nick and Colin did a really good job of going in there and helping provide something that we needed to get the second half started, because we did not have momentum at the end of the half, and we needed to get momentum back in our favor in the sense that we were going to establish how we needed to play that game. And I thought James and Rob did a very good job of coming in and adding to that and then impacting that after they added to it. And that's what you have to have.
Anything else? Yeah, hey Tom, sorry, right here. Your offense against their defense, they were only giving up 55 points, you scored almost 30 points more than. Can you talk about maybe the efficiency of that offense and the fact that you were efficient offensively inside and out, as well as only had 11 turnovers, which is good?
Well, the bottom line is we have to be on the attack constantly. Miss or make, we have to be on the attack. And the key with a team like Butler, it's much like the teams like Wisconsin and Georgetown. Nebraska will be like this. Illinois is like this a little bit. When they don't get, they don't want to be extended. Okay, I mean, they want to play defense the way they want to play it. They want to play it to the three-point line. And you've got to push and attack and utilize all your opportunities on the break. But at the same time, you don't want to come down and just turn it into a half-court grinded-out offense. So even when you're in the half-court, you've got to keep the ball moving. So basically, it's be on the attack. It's not there, get it swung, get it back out, but don't stop moving. Don't stop and let's just set it up unless we found something that we wanted, you know, which certainly happens. But for us, when we're moving the ball and when our bodies are moving and when we're defending like we did in the second half and getting out on the break and getting the fast break points like that, we've got a very good offense. When we slow it down, when we take first side jumpers, when we take shots that aren't there, when we over dribble, we've got a very poor offense. And our guys are learning the difference. And when you defend, again, like I said in the second half, and you don't get into a trade basket mode for the whole game, and when you can put multiple stops together, your offense is going to look a lot better. And they're learning that they're learning more about each other all the time with what each other's strengths are and how to play to those. But the bottom line, the more movement, the better we're going to be.
Last question, Jim. You mentioned earlier the will and tenacity your team had. How much did you see them sort of follow Yogi's lead in that regard down the stretch?
Well, I think in the second half, I think they did. I think we didn't have Yogi enough, and frankly, he didn't do a very good job of that in the first half, which we covered. Is he wanted to play so bad, he was so excited to play, and he let himself get taken out of it a little bit verbally and mentally because he was sitting over there with those fouls. He's going back in. I mean, there's no doubt about that, and I wasn't going to sit him over there that early with 2 fouls in the whole half. We'll adjust. But he's got a tremendous presence, and to me, I'm always harder on him because he has it in him, but number 2, he doesn't get nearly the national credit that he deserves for what kind of two-way player he is. And he wants to guard. It doesn't matter who we ask him to guard. He'll take that matchup, and he'll do the right things with him. And you saw what happened in the second half when he wasn't sitting there dealing with fouls and having to play, casual, the discipline that he had, not fouling. Like we did a couple of times with Kellen's a hard matchup because he's constantly looking for contact and he's constantly creating it. And I say that with great respect because it puts him at the foul line a lot. You've got to have a tremendous personal discipline. to guard somebody that has that much movement after the catch. And no matter what we were in defensively, we did different things, and he was the catalyst for every bit of it. So absolutely, he did a great job, but he's more than a one-man leader. Or we're far more as a team than a one-man group, when it comes to leadership. But at the same time, his presence is really, really important to everybody. Thank you.